divisi yang kita membantu banyak kolaborasi untuk anak-anak muda. Jadi brand-brand Indonesia kita coba untuk kawinkan dengan brand luar gitu.
Really
Contohnya
nice.
Nanti di Jakarta Sneakers Day, which is Maret 26, kita akan launch beberapa kerjasama dengan brand-brand anak-anak muda ya. Ada yang sneakers, ada yang fashion. Tapi ada satu kebetulan yang saya mentor juga, namanya Machine 56 dari Bandung. Dia clothing, fashion, techwear gitu. Kebetulan market dia 90% lebih di global. Kemarin di LabX kita membantu dia untuk bisa berkolaborasi dengan Steve Aoki, DJ.
Really nice.
Yes. So,
sangat milenial.
Ya, jadi kita pengen sekali untuk membantu anak-anak muda ini dari startupnya bisa dari sisi teknologi atau perusahaan-perusahaan yang memang local brand yang mempunyai potensi untuk menjadi global brand.
Ibu banyak sekali berbicara tentang anak-anak milenial sekarang, dan mungkin Ibu melihat potensi apa sih sebenarnya di anak milenial zaman sekarang ini?
Potensinya besar sekali karena saya lihat banyak sekali anak-anak muda dari umur 22, 23, 25, 26. Saya tuh ngeliat waktu saya umur segitu belum seperti mereka gitu. Jadi saya ngerasa ini kalau saya bisa bantu kita push lagi dengan membuka network ya, itu pasti mereka bisa lebih cepat, lebih besarnya. Dan itu kan yang kita butuhkan ya di Indonesia untuk mendorong lebih banyak local brand untuk menjadi global brand.
Iya, semoga kita tidak kalah juga ya dari global player yang ada kan. Karena Indonesia memang memiliki potensi yang
potensi
banyak.
banget, sangat kreatif.
Dan kalau misalkan saya melihat nih Ibu dapat penghargaan dari Forbes Indonesia pada tahun 2013 sebagai Most Influencer Women of the Year.
Enggak sih, waktu itu apa ya, saya juga nggak ingat, tapi more like along like inspirational.
Bagaimana Ibu dapat menginspirasi perempuan-perempuan lainnya, khususnya di Indonesia? Adakah cara tersendiri bagi Ibu untuk menginfluence hal tersebut?
Sebetulnya sih saya coba untuk ini aja memberikan banyak dukungan kepada bukan hanya perempuan saja, tapi juga anak muda in general, especially yang women ya. Saya lihat juga anak-anak Indonesia yang perempuan sekarang ini juga pintar-pintar, terus mereka sangat kreatif, mereka juga sebetulnya lumayan pede. Jadi kita tinggal dorong sedikit lagi. I think we need more role model gitu, karena saya sendiri akhirnya harus melihat role model saya siapa sih untuk bisa berkembang untuk menjadi seorang entrepreneur yang lebih baik lagi itu sih.
Baik, kalau boleh ditanya role model seorang Ibu Shinta itu siapa?
Banyak sebetulnya. Salah satu ya tadi saya sendiri. Saya juga sangat terinspirasi oleh Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey. Iya tentu.
Ya.
Apa sisi dari mana Oprah yang Ibu suka?
Ya, dia sangat supportive dengan women, especially ya, karena dia bikin sekolah juga untuk women, saya tahu itu, dan bagaimana dia juga bisa membantu banyak orang. So just being impactful is, I think, it's really important. Kita melakukan sesuatu, we have to have something impactful in the back of our mind. Apa sih yang kita bisa kontribusikan ke lebih banyak orang lagi.
Oh baik, kalau begitu really inspirational ya.
Thank you.
Ibu, terima kasih atas sharingnya Ibu.
Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih atas waktunya juga. Sangat inspiratif, dan semoga cerita-cerita inspiratif ini dapat menjadi inspirasi bagi wanita-wanita khususnya di Indonesia.
Amin.
Baik. Ya baik pemirsa, sekian perbincangan kami dengan CEO dari bubu.com. Terima kasih atas kebersamaan Anda. Saya Clara Antawijaya. Sampai jumpa.
Indonesian inflation rate picked up in May, both on an annual and monthly basis. Medco Energy posted net loss of $188.97 million. Hello, good evening viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business, economic and capital market sector. And as the pandemic is still ongoing, we will provide you the latest COVID-19 information. And please stay safe by taking some simple precautions such as physical distancing, wearing a mask, avoiding crowds, cleaning your hands and having less mobility. And with me, Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headline. Indonesia's inflation rate picked up in May, both on an annual and monthly basis, as prices of food, commodities, and transportation services rose.
Indonesia's annual inflation accelerated to 1.68% in May, its highest since December and roughly in line with expectations as consumer spending rose during Eid al-Fitr, while consumer prices rose 0.32% monthly. However, the May inflation remained below the central bank's target range of 2% to 4%. April inflation was 1.42%, and Reuters polls has expected a May rate of 1.67%.
Terjadi inflasi sebesar 0,32%. Tarikan permintaan terasa sekali pada inflasi bulan Mei ini, terutama permintaan komoditas terkait bahan makanan, kebutuhan saat puasa dan hari raya.
Annual core inflation, which excludes volatile food and government-controlled prices, also quickened for the first time since March 2020 to 1.37% in May, the highest in the 3 months. April's rate was 1.18%, and the poll has forecasted 1.28%. From Jakarta, Rahayu Patmo for IDX Channel.
The Finance Ministry ensures that inflation control through policy coordination with Bank Indonesia will be strengthened next year. In the initial discussion of the 2022 state budget, the Finance Minister targeted inflation to be in the range of 2 to 4%. The government ensures that inflation will remain at a low level. The finance minister said that the inflation target would remain low and in the range of 2 to 4% on an annual basis in 2022. The finance minister said this projection was in line with the policy coordination between the government and Bank Indonesia. So with the midpoint of the target at 3%, inflation in 2022 is still in line with the policy direction. However, the finance minister acknowledged that the evaluation of the subsidy policy next year will increase the risk of rising inflation due to the boost in administered prices.
Dengan selama 5 tahun terakhir yang kita konsisten di sekitar 3%. Langkah pengendalian bersama BI dan dari sisi pemerintah akan diteruskan, terutama mengenai ketersediaan barang, transportasi, dan dalam hal ini administered price yang mungkin memang harus hati-hati. Karena di satu sisi, seperti yang kita lihat, terjadinya subsidi yang perlu untuk diefisienkan. Di sisi lain, kita juga melihat dampaknya terhadap inflasi.
Last May, the Central Statistics Agency recorded inflation at 0.32%, while annual inflation was at 1.68%. IDX Channel reports. Meantime, the Ministry of Transportation ensures that it will encourage creative funding next year that does not depend on the state budget. This was done considering that the indicative ceiling set for next year is only 32.9 trillion rupiah, or down by 20.35%. The Ministry of Transportation will compile 2022 activities and budgets based on a priority scale and encourage creative funding that does not depend on the state budget. Minister of Transportation Budi Karya Sumadi said this was done considering the indicative ceiling set for the next year was only 32.9 trillion rupiah, down 20.35% compared to the indicative ceiling of the Ministry of Transportation in 2021. Budi Karya said the COVID-19 pandemic that hit Indonesia caused economic growth to still contract down to 2.07% in the fourth quarter of 2020 and 0.74% in the first quarter of 2021. Thus, it had an impact on the country's fiscal space, which fell drastically due to the decline in state revenues and the need for handling COVID-19, such as a fairly large vaccination program. Given the limited budget, Budi said that not all assignments that were part of the National Priority Program could be implemented. However, by setting the priority scale of activities, the Ministry of Transportation can determine which activities can actually be carried out effectively. For information, the indicative ceiling of the Ministry of Transportation in 2022 is 32.93 trillion rupiah. IDX Channel reports. The government has not set up the budget for developing capital city in East Kalimantan. Even so, Ministry of Public Work and Housing ensures the design has been prepared. In working meeting with Commission 5 of House of Representatives, Minister of Public Work and Housing Basuki Hadi Mulyono has prepared design of capital city. Study has been conducted for further implementation. However, until now, Minister Basuki said that the government has not set up budget for new capital city projects in indicative ceiling for the 2022 fiscal year. Not only capital city project, the indicative ceiling doesn't include food estate program and integrated industrial area project as well. Therefore, these three programs become homework for the government.
Siapkan softwarenya, tapi menunggu pengesahan undang-undangnya dan nanti beliau sendiri yang akan mengumumkan Bapak Presiden. Sekarang ini anggarannya belum ada, ya. Bahkan yang namanya pagu indikatif 2022 ini sebenarnya ada catatannya. Itu belum termasuk yang IKN, belum termasuk food estate, belum termasuk di kawasan integrated.
Market headlines will be right back. Stay tuned.
Belajar rapnya itu di salah satu radio di Surabaya yang saat itu banyak memutarkan lagu rap.
Yako ini selain seorang rapper juga merangkap sebagai akademisi.
Keinginan untuk menjadi pengajar itu muncul pada saat aku SMA dan aku suka belajar dan mengajar itu buat aku bukan hanya aku sharing tapi aku juga mendapatkan informasi dari teman-teman yang aku ajar atau mahasiswa yang aku ajar.
I'm associate producer and news presenter on Market Headlines. As Market Headlines starts at 4:30 p.m., which is in line with the closing market, therefore we summarize market conditions only for you. And my job in here as a journalist, I give concise and accurate news for the audience. And also, being a journalist is not only a job for me, but it is also a passion.
Ya, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan telah resmi menerbitkan belit yang mengatur modal inti minimum bank. Dengan penerbitan aturan ini,
bank ini heavily regulated, Mas. Jadi bank itu nggak bisa pindah tangan begitu saja, harus approval oleh OJK.
Menteri Keuangan Sri Mulyani Indrawati mengatakan bahwa industri keuangan syariah tumbuh mengesankan.
Di masa pandemi ini kita masih bisa bertahan dan bahkan menunjukkan kinerja yang sangat baik.
Welcome on Market Headline. After the World Health Organization grants the emergency use of the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine, Minister of Health Budi Gunadisadikin assured the public that the Sinovac vaccine had been tested for safety and efficacy. Minister of Health Budi Gunadisadikin welcomed the emergency use listing for the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine from the World Health Organization. WHO has validated the emergency use through a press release on Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. The Minister of Health said that the granting of permission from the WHO confirms that the Indonesian government only provides vaccines that are safe, tested for quality, and have proven efficacy. This validation, he added, indicates that the existing COVID-19 vaccine provided by the government is the best vaccine. The Minister of Health also asked the public not to be picky and worry about various types of vaccines because all types of vaccines are good for preventing the transmission of COVID-19. With the issuance of the emergency use listing, the Minister of Health is confident that the WHO ensures that the Sinovac vaccine meets international standards for safety, efficacy, and manufacture. IDX Channel reports. Yes, viewers, regarding the WHO's decision to grant emergency use permits for Sinovac, what are the matters related to the decision? Let's discuss it further through the following infographics. Let's go to the first graphic. We can see the fact of WHO's emergency approval for Sinovac. The emergency approval means the vaccine meets international standards for safety, efficacy, and manufacturing. WHO says that it prevented symptomatic disease in 51% of those vaccinated. The organization says it prevented severe symptoms and hospitalization of 100% of samples. The approval opens the door for the jab to be used in the COVAX program. The vaccine has been recommended for over 8 days with a second dose 2 to 4 weeks later. And the decision will allow CoronaVac to be used in WHO's vaccine sharing program, COVAX, which seeks to provide equitable global access to immunizations. It is the second Chinese vaccine to be given WHO authorization after Sinopharm was greenlit in early May. The organization Director General Tedros Adhanom said at a news briefing Tuesday that CoronaVac was found to be safe, effective, and quality assured following 2 doses of the inactivated vaccine. Unlike some other vaccines, CoronaVac doesn't need to be kept at super cold temperatures. So it is the 8th vaccine to receive emergency use listing from WHO, including those from Pfizer-BioNTech, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Sinopharm, and the Serum Institute of India. So which countries use this Sinovac vaccine? Let's take a look at the next graphic. So here is the list of countries using Sinovac's COVID-19 vaccine. China, Chile, Brazil, Mexico, Thailand, Turkey, and of course Indonesia are listed as Sinovac's COVID-19 vaccine users. And viewers, Singapore will allow the use of Sinovac's COVID-19 vaccine after the World Health Organization approved the drug as part of its emergency use listing. And as stated by the Health Ministry, the move means the drug can be administered by private health care providers as part of a program that allows the use of unregistered COVID-19 vaccines. Singapore's decision comes about 3 months after the country received its first shipment of 200,000 doses of the Sinovac shot on February 23 and amid debate over the efficacy of the vaccine. And still about the use of the Sinovac vaccine. How effective is this vaccine in dealing with COVID-19? Let's look at the data from a study in Indonesia in the next graphic. So in the next graphic, we can see the study of the effectiveness of the Sinovac vaccine in Indonesia. The first thing to highlight is 94% prevent the risk of symptomatic COVID-19. And the second one is 96% prevent treatment risk. And the third one is 98% prevent the risk of death. And a study by the Health Research and Development Agency stated that the effectiveness of the Sinovac vaccine showed encouraging results. The results of the study showed that 2-dose vaccination is highly recommended because it is effective in reducing the risk of COVID-19, both treatment and death. This study uses a retrospective cohort design, which is to trace the history of each individual involved in the study. A A total of 128,000 health workers aged over 18 years were involved, with an average of 60% women aged around 30 years. And in the process of this study, the volunteers were monitored since the injection of the first dose and the second dose. They were monitored for up to 63 days after the injection was made. And with the various types of COVID-19 vaccines that have received WHO approval, how important is the COVID-19 vaccination actually? For clarity, let's go to the next graphic. So the importance of the COVID-19 vaccination, the main thing to highlight is creating herd immunity. And the second one is prevents potential serious complications. And of course, people can work more freely after the vaccination. And not only for those who vaccinated, the COVID-19 vaccination also protecting citizens who cannot be vaccinated. And the Indonesian people welcome the COVID-19 vaccination, and this is based on the results of research by a global market research company, Ipsos, on people's behavior during the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The survey stated that 80% of Indonesians welcomed and were excited to receive the vaccine. Meanwhile, a study published in the medical journal JAMA Networks Open reports that vaccination alone is not enough to end the COVID-19 pandemic. Preventive measures such as quarantine, social distancing, and wearing masks are still needed while the vaccination program is implemented. And viewers, hopefully with the issuance of an emergency use listing for Sinovac, it can be an additional booster to accelerate the COVID-19 vaccination, and we hope it can end the pandemic. And stay tuned on Market Headlines. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Pemirsa, Menteri Kelautan dan Perikanan Wahyu Sakti Tenggono secara tegas melarang aktivitas ekspor benih lobster.
Karena benur itu adalah kekayaan daripada bangsa ini, kekayaan dari alam ini. Dia hanya boleh dibudidaya.
Presiden Joko Widodo resmi mencabut aturan terkait investasi industri minuman keras.
Bahlil Lahadalia menyebutkan
adalah kita memberikan perizinan berusaha dan insentif bagi UMKM.
Transisi ke energi baru dan terbarukan tidak membuat industri energi fosil lantas surut. Seperti apa dampaknya terhadap sektor migas?
Turunnya atau rendahnya harga minyak dan gas yang sangat drastis turunnya, adanya pandemi yang membuat terbatasnya pergerakan.
Langkah yang dilakukan apa nih Pak?
Hingga hari ini saya kira Brent hari ini sekitar 55. Ini sesuatu yang positif untuk industri yang itu kira.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,021.63. And then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,040.76. And then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. Index was closed at the level of 6,091.51. In short, Jakarta Composite Index went up 0.99%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, we got technology as the leader of strengthening trend that went up 12.82%. And health sector went up 1.53%. And then we got energy as the leader of weakening trend that went down 0.71%. and property sector went down 0.70%. And moving on to top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. From banking sector, BBCA went up 2.09% to the level of 33,000 per share. BBRI went up 2.35% to the level of 4,000 rupiah 360 per share. BABP went up 26.04% to the level of 242 rupiah per share. And Telkom Indonesia went up 1.16% to the level of 3,490 rupiah per share. Meantime, the top losers for today's trading, we got Aneka Tambang went down 1.18% to the level of 2,520 rupiah per share. MLPL went down 0.91% to the level of 545 rupiah per share. And the next one, we got Pigas went down 1.67% to the level of 1,180 rupiah per share. And Merdeka Copper Gold, or MDKA, went down 1.09% to the level of 2,720 rupiah per share. And from the top losers, we go to the rupiah's movement towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,284. Rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar and was closed at the level of 14,261. In summary, rupiah went down 0.09%. Medco Energy International in 2020 posted net loss of $188.97 million or increased more than 300% year-on-year. Last year, the performance of Medco Energy International was still less than encouraging and was reflected in declining revenues and soaring net losses. Based on the audited financial statements as of December 31, 2020, Medco recorded revenues of $1.09 billion, down 20.5% from the 2019 position. Revenues mainly came from customer contract revenues of $1.06 billion and financial revenues of $32.06 million. This revenue composition is different from the composition in 2019, which came from net oil and gas sales of $1.16 billion, sales of electricity and other related services of $212.22 million. In addition, the company also recorded a total cost of revenue and other direct costs, which decreased to $771.56 million from the 2019 position. The cost of principal, which did not decrease significantly when compared to revenue, caused the company's gross profit to also decrease to $321.71 million in 2020, while in 2019 it could record $546.77 million. With various other expenses, the company finally recorded a net loss of $188.97 million. The net loss increased by 394.73% compared to the 2019 loss of $38.76 million. IDX Channel report. And moving on to aviation industry, Garuda Indonesia's performance has yet to rebound from the impacts of the ongoing health crisis. Therefore, SOE Minister Erick Thohir pointed out Garuda Indonesia to focus more on domestic flights, not international flights.
SOE Minister Erick Thohir explained that in order to save the company falls harder, Garuda Indonesia will focus more on domestic flights, not international flights. Besides Garuda Indonesia, Erick Thohir will also encourage the subsidiary company CityLink to step aside from international flight as well. This shifting business focus has been discussed directly with the Garuda directors long ago, even before the COVID-19 pandemic hit Indonesia. Apart from being an effort to ease the company's financial burden, the focus on domestic flights is also based on the national tourism data. The majority of tourists are domestic tourists. Before the pandemic, it involved 78%. The economic activities of domestic tourists even generate a value of 1,400 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, foreign tourist portion is approximately only 22% with economic value of around 300 trillion rupiah. IDX Channel reported.
Healthcare and cosmetic producer Mustika Ratu and its subsidiaries recorded net sales of 318.4 billion rupiah in 2020. The number went up 4% compared to last year.
Even though the coronavirus pandemic has altered the beauty and shopping habits of many consumers, cosmetic producer Mustika Ratu still keeps its performance well. The company and subsidiaries recorded net sales of 318.4 billion rupiah in 2020. The number went up 4% compared to the last year, which was only 305 rupiah. The increase in net sales was driven by diversifications of the company's products through the latest product innovations in healthcare division, namely hand sanitizers and health supplements, so that the decline in cosmetic sales was replaced by sector sales in the healthcare line. Due to its increasing net sales, Mustika Ratu finally booked net profit. Net profit before tax in 2020 was 6.8 billion rupiah. It went up 154% compared to the last year. IDX Channel reported.
And viewers, the upside from market condition as coronavirus pandemic takes big role on current economic situation. Here it is, an update data about coronavirus globally. And viewers, the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business and capital market channel. And don't forget to always wear face masks in public, keeping safe physical distances and washing hands to break the chain of COVID-19 infections. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
Seperti apa analisa Anda? Mengapa kemudian Anda melihat ini, Pak Sarman?
Pemerintah kan saat ini sangat concern sekali ya bagaimana agar momentum